You're listening to a podcast by Last Minute Crack with your host, me, Christina Hamilton. Last Minute Crack is your one-stop shop for all things arts and culture in Dublin City. For more information, check out our website at lastminutecrack.com or visit us on Instagram at lastminutecrack. A special thank you to Thibaut Kemere for his help with the sound and for the music on this intro. Another thank you goes out to Zoe Spillane for her help managing the page. And now for your episode. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Last Minute Chats with me, your host Christina, and I'm here with two of my favorite boys. Hello, boys.
Hello, Christina. I feel like I'm on Island AM here.
Yeah.
You feeling like that production value? Yeah, sorry everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to my home.
Fabulous home.
We're doing new this year. Thank you so much again to Music Maker for last year for hosting us, but we're trying to be a little bit more flexible, trying to be a little bit more available to people. So we're having it in mi casa. So thank you so much. We have our cups of various beverages.
It's funny actually when you said where we were going to meet you, and you said at Chez Moi. Sure, I was going on Google Maps trying to find a restaurant called Chez Moi.
The Chez Max, you know.
I was like, Chez Moi, where's that?
At least you pronounced it right. I wouldn't even know.
Chez Moi.
Chez Moi.
Anyway, so apart from our incredibly good French, how are y'all doing? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
It's a kind of a podcast crossover, really. And also a kind of fan moment for me, really, because I'm such a huge fan. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, shall we? I want to talk to you about Poetry is Dead, the podcast.
Our little child.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's a multitude of things, mostly shy talk, and with a bit of poetry thrown in as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been going since January. Like we've known each other for a little bit longer than that, haven't we? I can't remember when we became friends, to be fair. We weren't initially friends. we weren't enemies. We were poetry enemies. We weren't like best buddies when we first met.
We knew each other from the scene, from doing like open mics.
Yeah.
So about 2 years, I'd say, of doing open mics. And then I think we just went for a pint one day and we were just kind of chatting, and then we started talking more. And then I remember the day when we decided to do the podcast. Ryan was like, let's go for a brunch. Ooh. And we went to the print museum.
Yeah, the print museum.
He was trying to impress me. I was very impressed.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
I was very impressed.
He's like, I know a place.
Yeah.
I was lubing you up for something
like,
big.
that cultured bastard. Yeah, he was so cultured. I was like, science deal delivered here. Now this is... And then we just kind of went through like a little kind of chat about what we wanted to do and what the focus of the podcast is going to be about. And obviously the two of us are poets, so... It kind of seemed like a good fit.
I feel like we both wanted to. We're both really passionate about like lowering the threshold to poetry, entry to poetry. Like just people that are able to speak our language and like poetry that's available to the everyman. I think we're both really passionate about that. Like you work at the schools. Like I'm always doing poems about run-of-the-mill nonsense that no one's interested in writing poetry about. So I feel like we've got that in common. And the project kind of just spurred from there, really.
And we wanted to showcase the amazing talent. Like you'd be very familiar as well with it yourself, with Last Minute Crack. And like, there's such a great scene in Dublin at the moment. And then we thought, with the podcast is great because we can go further afield than just Dublin. We don't have to limit it to that, you know. So we can go across the. Where was the furthest poet? We did it with someone from Canada last episode.
Someone from Brazil as well.
You know, so like we're covering.
We had emails from people from all over the world as well. The first email we got was from someone from Sweden.
Yeah.
Random. Yeah.
Like we thought like, we're going to set up a podcast, right? And some of our mates will listen to it. Our mas will listen to it, at least one episode. Will listen. And then like, because obviously with podcasts, you know yourself, the way it goes all across the world, like we started getting like followings in Sweden and Iceland. We were number 4 in Iceland at one point.
Oh, hell yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Just like,
wow, guys, we got an exclusive with the guys.
Like, I don't understand. Like, you know, but it shows you like random, because I think it was an Apple podcast, wasn't it? It was like, this is your statistics of who's listening. And we had like random countries. The Scandinavians, for some reason, I don't know, maybe because I look slightly Scandinavian, I don't know, but like, people just started listening to us, and like we thought they wouldn't get our humour because you know, we thought we were just talking about kind of English and Irish things, but it seems to be kind of people out there, you know.
Have I told your names?
No.
No,
could be anybody.
They should already know.
Anyway.
They should already know.
I'm so sorry. It's the first podcast episode of the season. I need to get into it. Everybody listening at home, this is Leon Dunne and this is Ryan Duggins. They're the hosts of the Poetry is Dead podcast and also very acclaimed poets in themselves. That's where I should have started this podcast, but we're in it now and I want to hear more about your Icelandic fame.
Oh, God.
I don't know how you feel, but like it seems like every show we release now, we get someone sending us an email, and it's moving stuff, isn't it? Like someone who's taken the time to go, we're so grateful that you've gotten me back into poetry, or I've ignored poetry for so long because I had a tutor or a school, a teacher that put me off it, and I felt stupid because I didn't understand the poetry. Now I'm back in, so it feels like all year now. Even the numbers, whatever. I mean, everyone wants more listeners, whatever. But the emails that we're getting from people that seem to have pretty life-changing kind of things going on from the shows.
We get so many emails of people that are like, we didn't think poetry was for us.
Yeah.
And the reason why, like, I've talked about how I got into poetry is because I thought for a long time poetry wasn't for someone like me. And then, like, I'm actually going to a wedding this weekend, and a dear friend of mine, the reason why I got into poetry was I was living in Berlin at the time, and I met this fella who looks like me, long hair, tattoos. He's from Glasgow, and Stevenson, just outside of Glasgow, and he was writing poetry, and I thought that was mad because like, you don't look like a poet. Like, he's like, what does a poet look like? And I was like, I don't know, like a turtleneck and thinks, smokes a pipe and has really intellectual thoughts and stuff like that. Yeah. And he's like, no, poetry's for everyone. He's like, you should give it a go. And like, I wrote my first poem about how much I hate wasps.
That's pretty good. That's pretty powerful.
It got a really good response out of me. I was like, I fucking hate wasps.
Yeah.
And it was very easy to write about,
Well, that's question number one, right? Because, okay, this is where I'm starting off. And for those at home, maybe you're on my level or maybe you're not. I have an English degree that I do not use. And I have horrible spelling. But I found poetry is part of that. One of the hardest things to kind of wrap my head around. I find it, the stuff that we got fed academically some quite beautiful, but others quite inaccessible. Yeah. And I guess, when you're trying to write it yourself, I really have tried to write my own poetry before, and I find it so cringe. Yeah. Like, I find my writing cringe because I don't feel like the words are big enough for the feelings. So I wonder, like, how do you have you felt like that before, or was it like instant, like, oh, this feels so good? Do you know what I mean? Like, how was that process of like putting pen to paper for the first time?
Yeah, I think it starts with breaking that wall between what you feel and what you want to say and what you've read before and what you see poetry as. It's a bit like, I remember when I've tried to write my first song, right? And I still remember it now. And it was called Starlight, right?
Beautiful.
But it was like, I wrote it and it just like, because I must have been listening to like some Will Young at the time. It must have been popular. And I was writing a song that was Will Young. And I was like, this is shite, this.
I think you better leave right now.
It was just bad. And I feel like forever I had that block. It's like, I can never write a song because I'm just going to naturally go back into what I think a song should be, which is like a ballad. Yeah. I think it's the same with poetry. It's your first experience of what you're used to reading, blocking you from saying what you really want to say.
I find, though, I have to push back against you a little bit because poetry... Writing, I used to write songs as well, and I tried it a little bit, and it was really cringe. My first song was called "Love Is in the Air Tonight," and it was about a random boy I met in the Gaeltacht, and how he was my one and only love forevermore, evermore. Anyways, so but like when you're writing songs, you can hide behind a guitar, you can hide behind a backing track, you can hide behind a piano, whatever you have. When you're writing poetry, it's right there. There's nothing. It's like, it's just feelings on it, How, like, I feel like it's more raw than songwriting to an extent.
Yeah, fair. But I think that's we're talking about, like, if you're able to write poetry and you're comfortable with it. I think a lot of reasons why people aren't comfortable and see it as a bit cringy is they remember the cards they used to get at school, they remember the hymns they may have heard at church, and it's like a mishmash of all the things that are stopping you from saying what you really want to fucking say. That was the thing for me, like, that changed. Like, I really enjoy writing poetry because I'm able to convey exactly what I'm trying to say about a topic that's a passionate thing for me.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not thinking about how it's received.
I think with poetry, when people start writing poetry, they want it to look like what they see in, say, a poetry collection, where they're like, I want my poem to look like a poem. Therefore, they focus on the words too much, where you want to focus on the emotion that you're trying to capture and start from there. And like, don't use, as we said, my favourite words are superfluous words or pompous, just stuff that's like, they're using words they wouldn't use normally. And they're trying to make it look real nice on a page. But then you read it and you're like, what the fuck are they trying to say? Because it's so hidden by all these kind of layers of just trying to look like an academic, looking like a poet. Whereas if you use, like, I always say whenever I'm teaching in schools, I'm like, just write how you'd normally speak. Because you can tell a story. If you're in a pub with your mate or with kids, you're in like the youth club or you're out with your mates and you're having a chat, you can tell a story really quickly and really, really easily. And it's so effortless. Why is it so hard for you to write something? If you're going to write like the way you speak, why can't you do, and that's the first step. It's like, just write how you'd normally talk.
Yeah, it's
because everyone's different.
Yeah, it's forgetting how you're taught you should sound.
Yeah.
That's the first leap to jump over, I think.
And then I think, if I can jump ahead as well, I think there's a pressure with poetry to like dig into the trauma and find the deepest emotion you can find and craft a beautiful, monument to this feeling. Whereas something I love about your poetry, Ryan, is that like it's about random anything. And it's good. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's like it can be about a really good pint. Do you know what I mean? It can be about the bus being late or something like this. Like, poetry doesn't have to be reserved for these grandiose emotions, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. And I think there's a lot of value in what people would find quite trivial. Like, nothing is trivial. Nothing is invaluable. If that's important to you, like an amazing pint or a great chat with a friend in a pub, like those kind of stripped back experiences are the ones that we want to read about and everybody else wants to read about. Because all we're doing with poetry is trying to find a moment that's reflected in art to make us make sense of the world a bit better than we did before reading the poem. So it's important that we stop looking at like grandiose emotions and getting into the trauma and the deep. Like, that's not really what I'm about anyway. But it's really important to create art from whatever's for your feeling, whatever you're feeling, whether it's songs, painting, poetry, as long as it's honest to what you're feeling. I think that's the most important thing.
You can be creative in so many different ways, like this fabulous cup.
Oh, thank you.
You can be.
Yeah, you made that, yeah.
Thank you.
But like being creative
so
in any kind of dimension or whatever it is, as long as you are being creative in whatever way, as I said, whether it's gardening, whether it's cooking, whether it's painting, writing fabulous songs, writing poems.
Don't look at me when you say writing fabulous songs.
I can't wait to hear your demo. I can't wait to hear this EP.
Have you ever been witness to Christina singing?
Oh, Ryan, please.
I'll stop,
not on my podcast, please.
No, I won't bring it up today, but honestly, at the circle
Welcome
sessions,
to the deep dive.
Stop. I was blown away when you performed at the circle sessions. Blown away. I think about it a lot, I have to say.
Stop.
Honestly, listen, not a lot, but honestly, brilliant.
Oh, thank you.
That's the thing about pressure, isn't it? Like, just I don't know if you feel that way, but you shouldn't ever feel like you're pressured to, just because you're good at something, you shouldn't always feel like you have to do all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think there's also like the idea, right, that when you love something, like I love to sing and I love music and it's something that I'm very passionate about, but when I've kind of put myself out there, it's been nice, but it hasn't been like life-changing. And I guess, and maybe this is my child brain where I'm like, Simon Cowell should be in the back ready to sign me. Do you know what I mean? But like, I don't think people understand the effort it takes to get to where you need to go and how much it takes to put yourself out there. Because I remember doing that thing at the circle sessions and I have the video. And the like mortification, I feel like rewatching it, like I'm so embarrassed, I'm so self-conscious, I feel like my hands were shaking, my piano wasn't good, like there's so many things. And like my mates were like, this is great. Like it's just this idea that I am so critical of myself, I think. And I think, when you guys go up and you perform, like how, like do you get what I'm saying when like that just sure. Doing that at any point is so huge, you know what I mean?
Can I ask you a question? In the moment, not the video of watching the video, but in the moment, can you remember, did you enjoy yourself?
I think I panicked too much to enjoy myself, if that makes any sense. Because it was just like, Yeah, but it was also the first time those things happen with practice. Like I get better at podcasting with practice and remember to introduce people's names. But those things happen with practice, and I can't remember my train of thought with it. But
I want to pick up what you're saying about the Simon Cowell thing. I think we're all haunted with the talent competition gig of like the thoughts of like, well, if I create something, who's going to be in the audience? What kind of R&R guy is going to be in the room, like picking me up? And I think that stops you from seeing the audience for who they are. That's a big game changer. Any kind of art, if you think about the audience and what you're trying to do with them, that changes the whole game. Because instead of thinking about performing as a way to be seen or be grabbed from, and elevated to a higher being, you think about like I did Shonakea this year down at Beyond the Pale, and it's a storytelling thing. It's an amazing thing that's going on in Ireland. Like it's just a movement, really.
Yeah,
they did that, and they kind of push you to think about creating an environment. They create an amazing environment anyway for storytelling, but they tell you to look at the audience and think about where you want to take them. And instead of standing at stage and getting worried about the amount of people that are in the audience, who they are, you're actually doing it. And you're looking at them as your friends, and it changes the way that you think about what you create. If you think about the audience, who is receiving your art, they're just important as the important person who might see your thing to put you on another level of existence.
Yeah, you've actually just blown my mind a little bit there, in terms of like, because I think it's something to do with the setup of the stage. I know I'm going to pick on circle sessions because it's my only like experience, I guess. But like the way that the lights are on you and you actually can't see the audience, I think is a little bit of a shame, really, because it is very like I'm alone on stage, but I can feel the eyes.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're in like a sitting room session kind of vibe or something where it's more like, I remember when we were in Farrier and Draper, like when I did that viral moment.
Oh, man. That was brilliant.
What was this now? I missed this. What is this?
I was doing Love Is.
Oh yeah, Love Is,
song, and there's just a brilliant part. It's like me performing, and then it just goes to like, I think he was the doorman.
I think he was the
doorman's
dancer.
like,
he's just like melting.
Melting again.
I didn't even see him. Like I was looking this way to take that moment.
Love is a cup of tea or something on a cold day, and he's just like.
I remember that was the first time I noticed he was there was when I watched the video. I was like, that's brilliant.
But when you're in those settings of Farrier Draper, like those kind of more, when you can see people, you can definitely, I think, lean more into.
You have to trust them though as well.
Yeah,
you have to trust them. And actually, interesting that the poet Jeff told me actually. When he pulled me, I did a poem or two at one of Emma O'Brien's gigs that Jeff was on.
Yeah.
And he pulled me aside after because I was kind of nervous and kind of bottled it a little bit actually. I was stumbling over my words and I was like nervous, and Jeff pulled me aside and was like, next time you do that, look at the audience and think they're looking at you to drive them home.
Yeah.
So they're not there to judge you. They're not there to like up and down or yes or no. They're looking at you going, you're the captain, so take us where you want to go. That's changed my whole perception of the audience in general now. When I'm on stage now, I'm just like, okay, we're going to go where we're going to go. Let's see where we end up. Rather than, fucking hell, I've been fucking this up. I used to forget words all the time. Don't do that anymore. Because you just have a bit more trust in the audience themselves, I guess.
Yeah.
And more relaxed, I guess.
When you're like writing pieces, so I write everything from my perspective. Because when you realise you're like, I only have one perspective. I don't know anything else outside my own experience. So I'm writing my poems for me because only I can see, whatever I'm doing. But then you go on the stage and you speak out, you perform these poems that you have written about your experience. And a cacophony of people from all different backgrounds go, I saw myself in that piece. That resonated with me because of this or because of that. And you think like, no one else is going to get this. And then there's so many people out there from, as I said, from all different backgrounds, from all different ages and whatever it is. And like they see them, they're like, oh, that resonated with me. And that's the best feeling. And then a lot of them people as well, now obviously some of them are creative as well, which is great. They have their own kind of thing that they're doing. But then there's a lot of people out there that can't articulate how they feel. And then they look at you and you've articulated how they feel. And that's the best feeling ever, because you're like, that's how it draws in. And that's why music as well is so powerful for people, because how many songs when you're in a good mood or when you're in a bad mood and you're like, I'm going to put this song on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking scream in the shower.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna drive, or I'm gonna go for a run, and I'm gonna put on me running music, and I'm gonna get myself pumped and stuff like that. You know, but that's what art is, and it's like, you know, it can resonate with you on almost like a cellular level, where it's, and that's the magic and that's the beauty of it. And if you can only write from your own perspective, though, because if I go, well, I'm going to write from Christina's perspective now, and what it's like to be her, and you know,
don't even my twisted mind. You don't even want to take a moment to get in here. You would crumble.
I'm going to drink out of her mug, and I'm going to get inside her head and write a poem about it, you know. But like, it wouldn't work the same way because I don't know what you know. So if you write for yourself. When you get out there and you're brave enough to do it, and some people aren't, but like, so, you know, everyone is eventually getting there, but like those that will get up on the stage and present their work, there's so many people in the audience that are looking at that and going, that's amazing, that's hit me there, because I feel the same way.
I love that. Just on that topic of the music, though, I need to roast our beautiful sound engineer Thibaut Kemeray, because his music is, how do I describe this? Techno, Celt, medieval techno.
What sounds unreal? I'd be into that.
It's like bagpipes and like pan flute and starts going off, and I hear it in the shower. It's like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It's like
That sounds unreal. That's a vibe.
It's very vibey, but it's very specific.
Yeah.
I have a question, a kind of an existential question, if you want. So.
No.
And I'm just interested in your answers, and obviously there's no wrong answers, but what do you think is good poetry? Like, what makes good poetry? Like, what makes, you know, somebody's poetry up here and others just more, you know, your day-to-day? Like, we have your Derek Mahans, you have your Seamus Heaney's, your Sylvia Plath's, your Butler, I can't remember her first name.
Yeats. William Butler Yeats?
No, there's another Butler. Somebody, just Judith? I'm thinking of somebody else. Anyways, okay. I don't like talking about Yeats. This is a Yeats-free podcast.
I'm the same.
You're the same.
He likes it, I don't like it.
I don't know anything about him really, but I read a collection from him that was given to me by someone quite close, and it helped me on a bad day. But like, it was Ireland's Heart, I think the collection was called, that I read. Some lovely pieces, but I know he's layered, right, in Ireland, like a...
Yeah, I mean, let's get into it. This podcast is now roasting William Butler Yeats.
He can't defend himself, it's okay.
Thank God. No, well, the thing that hurts me is that he took a lot of, like, credit for...
Margon, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like, from women, basically, like, like in the establishment of the Abbey, it was, it wasn't Maud, was it? Or was it... The other lady.
Inspiration. She had him write a lot of pieces, I think.
Yeah, but like, but that's one aspect of it where he would like, he would just put his names on other things. And that's obviously and indicative of the society at the time as well, but it's still like a really shitty thing to do. You know what I mean? And then a lot of people put him on this like big, like la-di-da pedestal when like he wasn't... Like he was a bit of a like weirdo. Do you know what I mean? Like he wasn't this epitome of like class, and he would go take drugs and go look at the moon for like ages. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that is one of the things I actually like about him. It's the weird thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, go on, take some drugs, go look at the moon, talk about how good the moon is. Moon's dope, amazing. But like, you know, anyways, off topic. What is good poetry?
What is good poetry?
You want to go first?
I'll do my best. It's because it's hard to define.
Do you want me to go first?
I think for me, a good poem is something that, like you said earlier, it doesn't have convoluted words. It doesn't. It's not something that that the writer's just showing off of the vocab and the lexis and the whatever amount of like words that person can go and grab to. As long as it's honest. It doesn't need to rhyme. I like poems that rhyme, but it doesn't need to rhyme. But as long as it's honest, I think that makes a good poem. Like, you know, when you're reading a bad poem, and you know that the person is not saying what they really want to say. Yeah. So a good poem is something that's honest, I think.
I think that was my answer. It was a poem that's honest.
It's hard to describe because like, there's so many different types of poems that I like and poets that I like. Like, yes, I like Plath and like John Cooper Clarke, I like Jan Britt, and I like. Yeah. But then, you know, I like. There's loads of other poets that I enjoy.
Like, they create a vibe with their work, and you can read it, and you're like, I'm really getting into it.
It is like a vibration, isn't it? Yeah, like you kind of feel it in your
You feel it in your bones, you do, and it's like an atmosphere that they've created that it just draws you in. And like the pleasure of our podcast is we get to read out a lot of work that we wouldn't normally, like for me anyway, a lot of work that we read out I wouldn't normally read myself. So say like we're covering like people as far, we're reading Byron. Well, Byron I did read before, but like we read like loads of different kind of people back in the annals, and like, you know, then we're doing modern day poets, and then it's kind of different types of poetry of contemporary poets that I wouldn't normally follow. But it's a great way to kind of open up your like you're set kind of a borders for yourself of what you like. And when you do something where you have to cover everything, you kind of it opens up your experience of what you're going to read and what you're going to enjoy. Because I wouldn't read. I'd be like, okay, I like what I like, and that's what I'm going to stick to. But because I'm obviously covering it, you have to cover everything. And there, you know, you can't just be like, we're just going to talk about John Cooper Clarke all day. Although we do talk a lot about John Cooper Clarke, we have to talk about other people. We have to talk about different kinds of types of poetry, you know, nature poetry, love poetry, fantasy poetry, from different perspectives. And then even like we did Maya Angelou about what's the poem we did with the woman? I'm a woman.
I love that one, Phenomenal Woman.
It's been loads of people's favourite
I'm obsessed
poem.
with that
and
one, yeah.
Mine as well. Probably my favourite ever poem.
And
Actually,
like
is Phenomenal
Ryan
Woman.
reading this out, and he's like, I'm a woman. Phenomenally. I'm like, it's just funny hearing from his voice, you know, that because we read it out ourselves, we're not, you know, we are incorporating clips of different artists now, but like it's great to read poems that like I would never have wrote that poem myself, because I'm not a phenomenal woman, you know.
You're not.
Not yet. No, but
what do you think? What makes a good poem?
Oh my God, I was not prepared for you to flip that on me. First of all, I need to say to our audience that the other person that William Butler Yeats screwed over was Lady Gregory. Just came to my mind. What is a good poem? Oh, I don't know. I think it is what Leon said with you read it and it vibrates with you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I really resonated as well with giving voice. Like I struggle a lot with having a lot of really intense feelings and not being able to like communicate those very well. Okay. And so when I can read a poem and feel like, oh, that's it. That makes me feel very seen. And like, as you said, it makes me feel like, okay, I'm not alone in this. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like, because it is that thing where I feel like people, maybe just me, but people can get very insular, like especially in these days where I think coming out, not to talk about it, but like coming out post-COVID, we're all relearning how to do things like, you know, especially coming up to winter, like how do you manage people's safety, like how you're managing like, you know, everything, you're relearning. And I think you can be really in your head, but then you have to realize, then you read a poem and you're like, I never had a unique thought in my life. I've never had that.
Because I remember, I said goodbye to my nan recently. I lost my nan. She died on her 89th birthday, bless her. Yes. And I'd never been in a hospital saying goodbye to anybody before. And I was there and saying goodbye to my nan. And you don't say goodbye. You just pretend it's normal. You know, you're like, oh, we'll see you later, nan. You know, good luck.
Well, yeah, it's different. It's different for everybody.
You don't want to say goodbye. But I remember above her bed was her full name written out, and I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen the name written out before. It was always Nan, or you know, her middle name was the name that she'd go by. So then you kind of go away like, wow, I never saw that. And then I found the poem by Wendy Cope called Names, which is the story of a woman's name going through mom to wife to nan, and then I go, oh, that's what I needed then. So timing's also key as well. Of like what you need from art to make you go, like you said earlier on, like I'm not alone with how I'm feeling. And you can't write from that perspective. That's the key thing, which is why honesty is so important. Because like you can't write for me being there saying goodbye to my nan. It just exists because that person has been brave enough, because bravery is quite key as well, to share what they are feeling at that time. I'm sure Wendy Cope, when she wrote that, probably saw a board with the full name of somebody, may not have been a relative, but like, and that's where it comes from. So I think honesty and bravery is quite good, like quite key. I find it very therapeutic writing because, like yourself, I have very big feelings as well. And when I'm having a very big feeling, I write it down. I'm like, how can I capture this and like bottle it and then put it to use rather than just experiencing it? It's like I'll write down something. So if something's bothering me, I'll put it into what I'm writing. And then it'll read like, and then people that are also, so say for like losing somebody or something really good happens or whatever, and it's like you feel like this charge within you where it's like, and you know, it's like I need to do something with this energy
now. And from getting out of your head and onto the paper, it's out of you then. It's into the physical world. It's not internal anymore. And then, you know, you're using it and you're shaping it. And obviously, and that's the best way I get things out of my head now. If I have something good happen, something bad happens, I'll tend to write. It might not be specifically about that thing, but I'll try to capture the emotion and feeling. Why would I feel that emotion? And it's like a self-examination almost, where it's like, how do you articulate, why do we have these feelings? What is the cause? And it kind of helps you become a bit more introspective with yourself, and then help you engage with people as well. Because when you're reading out that poem and someone comes up to you and says, I'm feeling that as way also, you're connecting with people then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I can see you, but I'm having too much fun. Am I making this up in my head, or are you a Gael Gore?
No, I'm trying my best.
You're trying your best.
I'm learning at the moment.
How confident, do you want to talk about Irish poetry? Was that something that you have delved in at all, or? So
we were lucky enough with Rising Tide events that we got to host an Irish language competition in February. So I, off the back of the All Ireland, I was asked by UNESCO to take part in their competition called Slamavision. Which is 12 countries compete. It's like the poetry Eurovision.
That's so dope.
It's unreal, right?
That's so cool.
So they basically make a video and then it's sent to the 12 or 11 countries and they all vote on it like points.
Like Eurovision.
Yeah.
Sick.
But they don't do the no point. You know, the no point. They have like 1 and 2 or whatever it is. So everybody gets a few points anyway. But I represented Ireland in 2023, and then I came back and I was having a chat with the director of UNESCO, Anne-Marie Kelly, and I said, you know, it's great for me to go over there. It's a great achievement, and I'm very proud. But I'm going over there speaking barely. I'm going over there speaking, you know, I'm not speaking Irish. And then we kind of were talking about it. And she was like, well, why don't we is there any poets out there that write in Irish? I was like, there's brilliant poets out there that speak Irish and they also write in it. So then we got 12 poets to have a competition of, I think it was 2 rounds, and we got like 12 poets to battle out and all their poems were in Irish. And then we were like, okay, how do we make it accessible to people that don't speak Irish? So we borrowed something from the European Poetry Slam, whereas we had a slideshow behind the poet. They sent their words to us in they sent to us a week or two beforehand. And we made a slideshow, and in real time there was translations.
Oh, nice.
So there was Irish and English above
phenomenal.
them. So you could follow along. So you didn't have to speak Irish to be able to know what they were saying. And there was so many different poets that were phenomenal. And then Cormac Fitz ended up winning. And he had this poem about the trees in Ireland, how they're sacred, and how through colonialism the trees were cut down, and how we lost our heritage through the trees. And there's a part of the poem, and I'm actually getting goosebumps now thinking about it, but he starts listing off the trees in Irish. And at one point in the poem, I stopped looking at the translations and I was just looking at him. And I'm not fluent in Irish, but I was just watching him. And I was all the hairs in my arms were stuck up, and I was just watching him. I was like, this is incredible. And then he ended up winning the competition with it. But like, it was it's an international competition. We're sending an Irish language poet over to represent Ireland in Irish.
Oh, it's beautiful. I had the privilege of listening to a poem in Irish last Thursday, and I wish I remembered her name, because it was one of those events that I was going just to see my friend perform, and then I ended up sticking around because the quality of it was so good. And
that's good.
She had written the poem, so even if you didn't understand the words would sound like waves crashing, and you had to listen to it as it, and it did, and then it was beautiful. But I've always found like, the more, I guess, old poems in Irish tend to be a little bit highfalutin in their language.
Yeah.
And that's something I was just interested if you had any thoughts on, because we have sorry Ryan, exclude you from the educational system here in Ireland.
I'm interested.
You have your Avi-Mays and Vialtas, but like if you're like just learning Irish, you don't know what these words mean. Like they're very like choice. They're very or an spalpín fánach. Like that's a very specific. The words that they're choosing are. Do you know what I'm talking about, or is this?
You can keep. No, you can translate for me there and say.
I don't even know. Well, I wouldn't even know it. Yeah. It's been. I don't know if you knew this about me, guys, but it actually has been a while since I did my leaving cert. I know. I'm so
more than 2 years.
I'm so youthful, so full of you.
More than 3 years. 3 years.
But I love this new wave. This is what I'm trying to say. Is this new this new wave of like Irish poets that are using like, and talking about sex and talking about love and talking about the things that we weren't really allowed to talk about as like Catholic Ireland shame,
definitely.
you know what I mean? And using it to like express themselves in this like fierce, intelligent energy kind of, and I just, when you're talking about the trees, like you can feel this like passion that I don't think the English language would be able to
particularly. Well, there's a great video I watched of Brendan Gleeson, and he's talking about like the Irish revival.
Stop.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, of course I have.
And he's saying, he's like, just give it to the people and let them, you don't need to revive anything, just give them the language and give them stuff. And like, I think that's great with like, say, looking at the rise of in like media. So you have like Iraq, the Irish film, you have like Kneecap and their film and their music, and you have so many different, and then like the Irish spoken word scene at the moment, like Reg and Kieran Ye is the one who's involved with that, Ona Moore and all of that. There's people out there that, like Julie Goode down in Cork, there's so many amazing artists at the moment, and it's for everyone. It's being accessible, and even regardless if it's an Irish or English, and that's the great thing about poetry now as well, is it's becoming more accessible to people, and it's like we're trying to make, and like as I said, with like Kneecap and so everyone like that, they're not this convoluted, like, you know, we're so intellectual because we speak Irish. No, they're just normal people that speak Irish.
There's a crossover between like the relearning of Irish and poetry, because like what I know, I don't know enough. I didn't do the Leaving Cert, but the way you're taught Irish isn't to express yourself; it's to learn phrases and poems and pieces of work. So it's peg and whatever she was saying. So you're not given the language to be you and make your own. Same with poetry; like you're just given these archaic throwback phrases from people that you can't connect with, and then that stops you from writing your own art. Maybe the same with like the new wave of people that are relearning Irish, because it's a relearn. Because you're not set up with the right tools, I don't think.
Like I learned, so I got like a D3 in Pass Irish when I was in my Leaving Cert many moons ago, and I thought for myself, I can't speak, it's just not for me, I don't have the brain for it. And I started learning Irish last year on my phone using Duolingo, and I'm 321 days because I've got a streak on my phone.
Nice. You're in the streak with himself.
I've got a streak as well.
Yeah,
nice.
But I've never been able
society over here.
I've never to speak so much Irish in my whole time. Like I'd crossed it off up until like I was 31 to go, I'm not going to be able to speak Irish, and then I've just started learning last year. Yeah,
it's so fun. It's so fun to throw it around, like because I always felt like restricted, and like it's very formal what you learn, and you know, it's not, it's the words that you learn in school aren't fun. Like they're, can we make a geo shop August Canny May? Like piece of Ron. Do you know what I mean? Like I went to the shop and I got a piece of bread. Okay, that's not fun. Well, how do I talk about having crack with my lads? Like, do you know what I mean? Like how do I talk about living my fucking life? And like my sister is amazing, and she is she recently just got her postgraduate degree to become a teacher. And shout out Sarah Jane, well done, proud of you. But she speaks Irish now, and she really like throws it around in a way that catches me off guard, but I always like light up when she says it. Like she's like, hey, pass me and she'll say whatever, and I'll be like, oh yeah, here you go. Do you know what I mean? It's so, the way that she uses it, and it's like modern. It's just, it doesn't matter. Like and it gave me license to throw it around. And now that he's learning on Duolingo as well, it's like, okay, so it's kind of annoying sometimes because I'll be like, oh, give me the thing. He's like, what are you talking about? Because there's 3 languages in this household. There's French, English, and Irish, you know? So it's like, what? Like, which are you choosing? Which one is it? But it is so fun to be able to do that. Yeah. I know we've run way over time and we're having such a good time. I want to, first of all, just thank you so much for coming on. No, this has been like the pleasure of my life. I would like to have you guys plug your pluggables, and then I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. And I was wondering if we could all recite a little poem. And I actually do have something very special for you guys that I've never, that it is actually a Last Minute Crack exclusive. And I will tell it to you after you plug your pluggables. So please tell the audience where to find you.
Yeah, we every week on a Monday, there's a podcast called The Poetry Step Podcast. It's available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. There's also a read along that we do every month for our Patreon subscribers. So it's €3 a month, and we do a new poetry collection every month. So if you need a push, a bit of pressure to get back into your reading, your writing, then you can subscribe there. The Instagram is The Poetry Step Podcast. We're on TikTok. Is there anything else?
We don't have a Facebook page, I don't think.
No.
Who's there?
Who's on Facebook
Who's on
these
that?
days?
Me mum.
My mum as well, actually.
My mum likes to sell things in her local, wheeling and dealing page.
And honestly, like, thank you for bringing us on, and like the work that you do for the Dublin community and the art scene, and it's just amazing, because it's so important to make sure that like artists have a platform to share what they're doing.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Oh, guys, okay, well, thank you so much. I don't know which order we should do this, but my surprise for you is my granddad passed away when I was roughly around 7 years old. And when we were going through his stuff, we found that he had written a poem. And I've never told anybody this really, and it's never really been out there, but my sister found his writing. This is his handwriting. He was multi-handed. He could write with both hands. And he wrote it down. And I was wondering if you would like to hear the poem my granddad wrote.
I'd love to hear that.
I have to have a cold, so excuse me while I get ready. Okay. It's untitled. So this is by my granddad, Jim. Labour for learning before you grow old. For learning is better than silver or gold. Silver and gold will vanish away, but learning is a flower that will never decay.
Oh,
that's amazing.
That was my granddad.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that crazy? He was an amazing man. So thank you for letting me have that space to say that to you guys.
Do you think he wrote it knowing that you would read it, or his family? And
my granddad was amazing. He was a perfect Irish man. He loved Irish music, spoke Irish. He was, I remember he was drill Irish into me and my sister, and would listen to our horrible, horrible tin whistle routines, because he just thought it was dope that we were playing Irish stuff. Do you know what I mean? He was just so supportive. He was
very proud.
Yeah, and I think he was a bit of a poet, though he did trick me once, kind of from the grave, where he wrote a poem that I thought was a poem, and I brought to my English teacher. I was like, look at this incredible poem that my granddad wrote. And it was lyrics to The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, now that's the kind of man I like.
Sounds like we could be mates, to be honest.
Yeah, we could be friends.
So
that's
anyways,
incredible.
that was my poem. Do you guys have something in the bank for me?
Sure. Do you want to go first, or
You
should
go
I
first. You go first.
Well, I'll do this one for you. Can we swear on the podcast?
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
I've already cursed
Thank you very much. Yeah, same. Well, I think I'll share this one for you, because I think now the days get a bit shorter, the nights get a bit longer, and I think that our social plans become a little restricted, and we spend a lot more time on our own. So this poem, I guess, is for anyone who might be their life is a bit small at the moment. The poem is called "On Days When There Is Fuck All On." On days when there is fuck all on, still get dressed. I know you're stressed, that those planning days might be long gone. On days when there is fuck all on, and time that once was free is locked in dreams where all the people flock to frolic in your fun. On days when there is fuck all on, you flick through friends of times gone by and how you made your exes cry. Do they too have plans equal to none? On days when there is fuck all on, spray a scent, do your hair. Who cares that no one's there to stare? Life rebirths at the rise of the sun. You'll be alright. Ease your eyes before the day is done. On days when there is fuck all on. Thank you.
That's beautiful.
Thanks for this stuff.
That's lovely.
Yeah, cheers.
I love fucking listening to that poem.
I love that.
It's incredible. So good. Such a feel-good poem. Love it. I'll do a poem. It's a short one. I wrote it for me, ma. So it's brightly coloured lunchboxes scattered across the countertops. Ham and cheese, no crusts. Uniforms neatly laid out, carrying the scent of washing powder, a kiss on the forehead, and enjoy your day now, be good. Steadily they marched down the drive, furiously engaged in conversation. She watches from the porch, and even after they've turned the corner, she lingers in the doorway, just to make sure.
It's beautiful.
Thank you very
I
much.
want to snaps. What was Jimbo's thing about clicks? Guys, this has been the most cozy conversation I think I've ever had. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
If you're not following them already, go find them. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
See you later on.